The screams tore through the night like a broken drum. Sarah clutched her swollen belly, sweat pouring down her face as the midwives pressed her legs apart. But what came out of her womb was not the cry of a baby. It was silence, and then a shadow. The room went cold. The lamps flickered, and every woman in that small room in Riverbend City froze. The midwife gasped, stepping back as if fire had licked her feet. From between Sarah's legs came not flesh, not blood, but a dark mist curling like smoke, forming into the shape of a man's face. The face looked at her, eyes hollow, mouth grinning. "You carried me, Sarah," the voice hissed. "But you were never meant to give birth to life. Only death." The women screamed. Sarah's mother fainted. And Sarah herself, lying there weak and broken, felt her heart pound against her ribs. She tried to scream but no sound came out. Her belly, though emptied, still looked swollen. It rose and fell as though something inside was moving, something that should not exist. The ghostly figure pressed closer to her, whispering words no human ear should hear. "You are mine forever. And soon they will know the truth." The midwife made the sign of the cross and ran out. The others followed. Sarah was left alone with the shadow crawling back into her belly. Her eyes rolled back, and before she lost consciousness, she wondered in terror. How did she end up pregnant for a ghost? The truth began many months before that dreadful night. Sarah was 22, bright and beautiful, known in Riverbend City as the girl with a kind smile but heavy heart. Her father had abandoned the family when she was 10, leaving her mother, Ruth, to raise her and her younger brother. Life was hard. Hunger was a regular visitor, and shame often sat at their table. But Sarah was determined to change her family's story. She studied hard, worked late in the market, and dreamed of a better life. It was during one of those long evenings, selling vegetables by the roadside, that she met Daniel. Daniel was everything a girl could dream of. Handsome, well-dressed, soft-spoken. He carried himself like a man of wealth, but his eyes held a sadness, a secret she couldn't place. He bought tomatoes he didn't need, lingered too long and smiled too gently. In weeks he became her comfort. He told her stories that made her laugh until her stomach hurt. He promised her that one day, he would take her far from Riverbend's dusty streets and give her a life she deserved. But there was one strange thing. No one in Riverbend had ever seen Daniel before. He appeared as if from nowhere, and he disappeared just as easily. When Sarah asked where he lived, he only smiled. "Far from here. But close to you." Her mother warned her. "My daughter, love is sweet, but be careful. A man without a home is a man without roots." But Sarah, blinded by his kindness, refused to listen. Soon she fell deeply in love with Daniel. Nights turned into stolen kisses in the shadows, and promises whispered under the moonlight. Until one night, against her better judgment, she gave herself to him. From that night her life changed. Weeks later, she found herself staring at a broken pregnancy test in the dim light of their small home. Her hands shook as she touched her belly. She was pregnant. When she told Daniel, his smile did not match his words. His face lit up, but his eyes looked troubled. "It is a blessing," he said. "Do not fear." But fear was already spreading in her chest. Because each time she met Daniel after that, something about him seemed less real. His skin felt colder. His reflection never showed clearly in mirrors. And whenever she asked about marriage, he would kiss her forehead and whisper, "Soon." The whispers in the town began. "Sarah is pregnant, but where is the father?" Her mother was furious, heartbroken that her daughter's shame was now public. Friends turned to strangers. Even her brother refused to speak to her. But the strangest part was her pregnancy itself. Her belly grew faster than normal, too fast. By the 3rd month, she looked as if she were 7 months along. And at night, she would hear whispers in her womb, like a voice speaking inside her. Sometimes she felt hands pressing from the inside, not like a baby kicking, but like an adult trying to claw its way out. One night, as she slept, Sarah woke to see Daniel standing at the foot of her bed. She smiled weakly, asking why he had come so late. But when she looked again, his feet were not touching the floor. She screamed and he vanished. Her mother rushed in, trembling. "What did you see?" Sarah couldn't speak. But in that silence, she realized a horrifying truth. Daniel was not a man. He was something else. Still the belly grew. Still the whispers continued. The city mocked her, neighbors spat insults, and church elders accused her of consorting with dark spirits. Sarah wanted to believe it was all lies. But deep inside she feared it was true. Until the night came when labor struck too early. The screams filled the air. And what came out of her womb was not life, but shadow. And that shadow was only the beginning. Sarah woke up hours later, drenched in sweat, her body weak, her womb hollow yet still swollen as though nothing had left her. The room was quiet now, but the silence was heavy, like a curse sitting on her chest. Her mother sat by the door, eyes swollen from crying, rocking back and forth like a woman who had seen too much. When Sarah tried to speak, her mother raised a trembling finger to her lips. "Don't," she whispered. "Don't say a word." But the truth pressed inside Sarah's head like a drumbeat. She remembered the shadow, the hiss of a voice, the cold whisper that had promised her she was his forever. She had not birthed a child. She had birthed something else. Outside, the city was already buzzing. Rumors travel fast in Riverbend City. Some said Sarah's baby had died in the womb. Others swore she had given birth to an abomination. Many whispered she had been cursed for lying with a spirit. Children pointed at her window and laughed. Elders shook their heads in pity. But what no one outside that room knew was that Sarah's belly had not gone down. Instead, it looked even more alive, as if something was still moving inside. That night, as the lamps burned low, Sarah felt it again, the stirring. Not the gentle flutter of an unborn child, but the violent push of something struggling, pounding, demanding to be free. She pressed her hands over her stomach, tears streaming down her face. "Leave me alone," she begged. "Please leave me alone." Her mother rushed in, clutching a Bible in one hand and pouring salt around the bed with the other. "Don't speak to it," she cried. "Don't answer it. That thing is not of God." Sarah sobbed, but the whispers from her womb grew louder. This time her mother heard them too. The voice was deep, chilling, echoing from Sarah's belly. "Mother-in-law, see you. And I do not like your prayers." Ruth dropped the Bible and stumbled back, screaming. For the first time in her life, Sarah saw fear greater than death on her mother's face. Days passed, and the terror grew. At night, Sarah would wake to find handprints on her belly, burned into her skin as though pressed from the inside. Her dreams were filled with Daniel's voice, calling her, promising her that soon, they would be together forever. The church elders came to pray, but each time they entered the house, the lamps blew out. One elder dropped dead at the doorstep before he could even lay a hand on Sarah's belly. His body stiffened, eyes wide with horror, as though he had seen the face of death itself. That was when the community turned against her. The landlord drove them out of the house. Neighbors spat at them, calling Sarah the bride of demons. Children threw stones. Her mother begged for mercy, but no one wanted them near. They had become outcasts overnight. Forced to flee, Sarah and her mother moved to the outskirts of the city, into a broken mud house with no roof strong enough to keep out the rain. Hunger returned. Shame followed. But worse than all of that was the child, the ghost that refused to leave her womb. One night, as Sarah lay weak on the floor, she felt a cold breeze sweep through the room. The lamps died. Her mother was asleep, but Sarah could not move. From the corner of the room, a shape appeared. Daniel. But this time there was no pretense of being human. His eyes glowed white. His smile stretched too wide, and his body flickered like smoke. He moved closer, kneeling beside her swollen belly. "You are still mine," he whispered. His hand, icy cold, caressed her face. "Do not fight me. You are carrying my blood, my shadow. When the time comes, you will join me." Sarah's lips trembled. Why me? She begged. Why didn't you choose someone else? What did I do? Daniel tilted his head, and for a moment, his face shifted into a skull before returning. Because you were pure. Because you trusted. Because you opened the door with love. And once a spirit has tasted innocence, it never lets go. Sarah tried to scream, but no sound came. Daniel leaned closer, pressing his face against her belly, whispering words that made her flesh crawl. The next morning, Ruth woke to find Sarah unconscious, a black handprint on her stomach. Terrified, Ruth ran to the city's shrine, desperate for help from the old priest. She knelt, crying, "Please save my daughter. She is dying." But the priest, old and trembling, refused. His eyes were wide with fear. "Child, your daughter has crossed a line no man can touch. She is no longer in the hands of mortals. If I interfere, that spirit will drag us all into the grave." He sent her away. Sarah was left with only her mother, her swelling belly, and the growing whispers that now never stopped. On the 7th night after Daniel's visit, Sarah sat up in the darkness, her eyes glazed, her voice strange. Her mother rushed to her side, but Sarah's lips moved with words that were not her own. "It is time. He is coming for me. And no one will stop him." Her belly began to move violently, as though a storm raged inside. The walls shook, the wind roared, and the house trembled. Ruth screamed, clutching her daughter, praying loudly. But then, the door burst open. And there, standing in the doorway, was Daniel. His body was no longer smoke, no longer shadow. It was full, human-like, but wrong. His skin glowed pale, his eyes empty, and his smile curved like a blade. He stepped forward. "Sarah," he said, his voice deep and commanding, "it is time to follow me." Ruth fell to her knees, clutching Sarah's trembling body as Daniel stepped into the broken mud house. The air grew heavy, suffocating. The wind outside silenced itself, as though the world was holding its breath. "Don't come closer," Ruth screamed, her voice hoarse, shaking the Bible in her hand. "In the name of God, leave my daughter alone." Daniel's pale eyes flickered to her, and for the first time, his smile vanished. He raised his hand slightly, and the Bible burst into flames before it hit the ground. Ruth shrieked and backed away, her hands trembling as she tried to shield Sarah. But Sarah, weak and drenched in sweat, raised her eyes to Daniel. Something inside her wanted to resist, to fight, yet another part of her longed for him. His voice had always held her, always wrapped her in a strange comfort that she could not deny. "Come, Sarah," Daniel whispered, stretching out his hand. "You were chosen. You carry my child. You are mine forever." Her belly moved again, violently, as though whatever was inside wanted to leap out and answer him. Sarah clutched her stomach and screamed, "I don't want this. I don't want you." Daniel's eyes darkened. His voice turned sharp, like a knife cutting through bone. "You gave yourself to me. There is no turning back. You are already my wife." The words echoed in the room. Ruth froze, her heart shattering. "Wife," she whispered. "No. My daughter cannot be your wife." Daniel's laughter filled the room, cold and hollow. "It was sealed the night she gave herself to me. That was not a man you lay with, Sarah. It was me in my true form. You are bound to me by blood, by shadow, by womb." Sarah screamed louder, shaking her head violently. Her belly bulged unnaturally, as if something inside was pushing against her ribs. Her mother grabbed her, crying, "Fight it, my child. Don't let him take you." But suddenly Sarah's eyes turned black. Her voice changed, deep and chilling, not her own. "He is my husband. I belong to him." Ruth staggered back in horror. "No. That's not you speaking, Sarah. That's him controlling you." Daniel stepped forward, kneeling by Sarah's side. He placed a cold hand on her swollen belly. Instantly, the movements inside her stopped, as though the spirit child recognized its father. Daniel smiled with twisted pride. "Our child will soon be born. And when it is, no one in this city will be safe." Riverbend will bow to us. Ruth's heart pounded. She thought of the city, the neighbors who mocked them, the church elders who turned them away, the children who threw stones. If this thing inside Sarah was truly born, would it destroy them all? Desperation gave her courage. She rushed forward, grabbing a knife from the wooden shelf. With shaking hands she lunged at Daniel, screaming, "Leave my daughter alone!" But the knife never touched him. It turned into dust in her hands. Daniel chuckled, his eyes glowing brighter. "Foolish woman! Do you not see? Nothing can break this bond." He turned to Sarah again, caressing her face with a touch so cold she flinched. "Soon, my love. Very soon." Then, like smoke vanishing in the wind, he was gone. The room grew silent. Sarah collapsed into her mother's arms, trembling, her eyes returning to normal. She sobbed weakly, "Mama, I don't want to die. Please save me." Ruth held her tightly, rocking her back and forth. "I will, my child. I will save you, even if it kills me." But deep down, Ruth knew she was powerless. If priests could not help, if prayer brought death, what hope did they have? Days passed, and the torment grew worse. Sarah no longer ate, no longer slept. Her belly grew heavier, dragging her body down. She heard voices constantly, whispering, laughing, promising things she did not want. Sometimes she woke with scratches on her arms, as though someone had clawed her in the night. Her mother tried everything, burning incense, pouring holy water, fasting and praying. Nothing worked. Then one night, Sarah woke screaming, clutching her belly. Blood seeped from under her dress. Ruth panicked, thinking the child was coming again. But what she saw nearly killed her with fear. A hand, pale, skeletal with long black nails, pressed from inside Sarah's stomach, stretching the skin so far it looked like it would tear open. Sarah screamed, writhing on the floor. "Mama, help me. It wants to come out." Ruth cried out, dropping to her knees, pressing her hands against her daughter's belly to keep the thing inside. "No, not yet. God, help us." The voice from Sarah's womb thundered in reply. "You cannot stop me. She is mine. And soon I will be born." Sarah shrieked until she fainted, her body limp in her mother's arms. Ruth wept uncontrollably, rocking her unconscious daughter, realizing that time was running out. If this ghost child was born, Riverbend City would not survive. But just as despair was about to crush her, she remembered something, a forbidden story her own grandmother once told her. A story of a secret place, deep in the forest, where spirits could be chained and curses broken. Few had ever returned from that journey, and those who did never spoke of what they saw. Ruth wiped her tears and looked at her unconscious daughter. There was no other choice. She would take Sarah into that forest, even if it meant facing death itself. But as she made the decision, a loud knock boomed at the door. The sound echoed like thunder, shaking the weak walls. Ruth froze, her heart skipping. The voice that followed was cold, deep, and commanding. "Open the door, Ruth. It is time for my bride to leave with me." The pounding on the door shook the fragile mud walls of the house. Dust fell from the ceiling, and Sarah stirred weakly in her mother's arms. Ruth pressed her hand over her daughter's mouth to keep her silent, her own breath shallow with fear. The voice came again, deeper, sharper, vibrating through the wood like thunder. "Ruth, do not test me. Open this door. Tonight, Sarah leaves with me." Ruth's hands trembled as she clutched Sarah's body tighter. Her heart hammered against her chest, but she forced her voice out, shaking yet defiant. "You cannot have her. She is my daughter. She is not your bride." For a moment there was silence. Then slow, chilling laughter seeped through the cracks of the door. "You think you can fight me, Ruth? You are mortal. I gave her a child. I bound her womb. She is mine by blood, by night, by oath." The wind outside roared, the door rattled violently, and then, sudden silence. Ruth held her breath, waiting. Then a single whisper slithered into the room. "If you will not give her to me, I will take her myself." The lamps went out. Darkness swallowed the room. Sarah awoke with a scream, her belly convulsing, the unseen child twisting violently inside. Her eyes rolled back, her mouth foaming. Ruth grabbed her, shouting prayers, but the house shook as though the very ground rejected them. Then came the sound of scratching, fingernails dragging down the wooden door. The sound was unbearable, like claws tearing through metal. Sarah writhed in her mother's grip, screaming, "Mama, he's here. He's coming for me." Ruth panicked, her grandmother's forbidden story echoing in her mind. The forest, the secret place where spirits could be chained. She had no proof it was real, but staying here was certain death. She grabbed a shawl, wrapped it around her weak daughter, and with trembling strength, forced the window open. The night was thick, the moon hidden behind storm clouds, but she didn't hesitate. She lifted Sarah out first, then crawled through, landing barefoot on the damp earth. Behind them, the house roared with noise. Doors slamming, glass shattering, voices whispering their names. Ruth didn't look back. She hoisted Sarah onto her back and staggered into the night. The forest edge lay far from the city, but Ruth's legs moved with the speed of desperation. Dogs barked in the distance, owls screeched overhead, and every shadow seemed alive. Sarah moaned in her ear, whispering things that were not hers to whisper. "He is behind us. He is watching. Mama, stop running. He said I should come. Be quiet, my child." Ruth snapped, though her heart broke at the sound of her daughter's twisted voice. They pushed deeper into the night until the familiar huts of Riverbend City faded, swallowed by trees. The forest loomed before them, black and endless, the place no one entered after sundown. But Ruth entered. Branches snapped beneath her feet. Strange eyes glowed from the shadows. The air grew colder with each step, the whispers around them multiplying. Sarah wept softly against her back. "It hurts, Mama. He's pulling me inside. I can't hold it anymore. Hold on, my daughter. Just hold on," Ruth begged, though her own fear nearly crushed her. At last they reached a clearing. The moon broke through the clouds, casting light on a strange mound of stones arranged in a perfect circle. Ruth froze. This was it, the place her grandmother had once described, the circle where spirits could be bound. But before she could enter the circle, a figure appeared. Daniel. He stood at the edge of the clearing, his body glowing faintly, his eyes like burning coals. His smile widened when he saw them. "Did you think you could run from me, Ruth? Even the forest knows me. Even the shadows bow when I arrive." Ruth clutched Sarah tighter and stumbled into the circle of stones. Her grandmother's warning echoed in her memory. Once inside the circle, the spirit cannot enter unless you invite it. Daniel stopped at the edge, his smile fading. He snarled, his voice twisting the air. "Ruth, do not test me. Give me what is mine." Sarah's body jerked violently. Her belly stretched, her skin thin like parchment, as though the creature inside was clawing its way out. Sarah screamed, her voice raw and broken. "Mama! It's tearing me apart. I can't hold it." Ruth dropped to her knees, pressing her daughter into the earth, weeping and shouting prayers she could barely remember. Daniel's voice rose above her, furious and commanding. "You cannot keep her from me. When she gives birth, this city will burn. Your prayers cannot stop what has already begun." Then, Sarah's scream pierced the forest, louder than before. Blood gushed beneath her, soaking the ground. Her belly shifted grotesquely, and a long tear stretched across her skin. Ruth screamed, trying to hold her together, pressing her hands against the wound. But the voice from Sarah's womb bellowed, shaking the trees. "Let me out." Sarah's eyes rolled back, and her body convulsed violently. Ruth screamed for help that would never come. Daniel laughed at the edge of the circle, his voice echoing through the forest. And then, suddenly, the ground beneath them split open. A deep crack tore through the circle of stones. Wind roared from the earth, carrying with it a chorus of voices, spirits screaming, chains rattling. Sarah arched her back, her mouth wide open, releasing a scream that wasn't hers at all but sounded like 1,000 tortured souls. Ruth grabbed her daughter, holding on with all her strength. "No. You will not take her from me. She's mine. She is my child." But as she cried, she felt something slip into her hands, something cold, slimy, and alive. She looked down. From Sarah's torn belly, a hand was pushing its way out. Not a baby's hand, but long, thin, and covered in black veins. Its nails were sharp like knives. Sarah's voice cracked, trembling. "Mama, help me. Please, don't let it out." Ruth screamed, pressing down harder, fighting to keep the creature inside. But the hand was growing stronger, forcing its way through. Daniel's laughter grew louder, filling the forest. And then the impossible happened. Sarah's lips moved, but it wasn't her voice. It was Daniel's. "Open her womb, Ruth. Or I will open yours." Ruth's hands shook as she pressed against her daughter's torn belly, her heart pounding like war drums. Blood seeped between her fingers, hot and endless, but the thing inside Sarah was stronger. The skeletal hand clawed harder, pushing her palms away with an unnatural strength. Sarah's screams turned into whispers, then into guttural growls that were not hers. Her eyes flickered between black and white, her voice switching from desperate cries to Daniel's mocking tone. "Why fight, Ruth?" Daniel's voice came from Sarah's throat. "You cannot stop me. She is mine, and through her womb I will walk this earth again." At the edge of the stone circle, Daniel stood taller, his body glowing brighter, his form almost complete. He stretched his arms wide as if calling the night itself to bow before him. The forest responded. Trees groaned, the wind howled, and creatures scattered in fear. Ruth pressed down harder, tears streaming down her face. "God of heaven, help me. Save my daughter." But the voices from the cracked earth laughed, 1,000 shadows shrieking together. Daniel's power was too great. Suddenly, a flash of light ripped across the clearing. The stones of the circle glowed, humming with an ancient force. Daniel staggered back, his smile fading. From the forest shadows, an old woman stepped forward. Her back was bent, her face wrinkled, but her eyes glowed like fireflies in the night. She carried a staff carved with strange markings, and as she entered the clearing, the circle blazed brighter. Ruth gasped. She had never seen the woman before. Daniel snarled, his voice thunderous. "Ooh! You dare step into this?" The old woman raised her staff, her voice sharp and commanding. "You should not be here, Daniel. The living and the dead were never meant to mix. You broke the boundary. Tonight, I will chain you back to the pit you came from." Daniel's laughter returned, cold and merciless. "Old witch, do you think your staff can stop me? I have already planted my seed in her womb. Nothing can unmake what has been made." Ruth cried, clutching Sarah tighter. "Please help her. She is my only child. Save her." The old woman knelt beside them, placing her wrinkled hand over Ruth's bloody fingers. Her eyes met Sarah's trembling face, and her voice softened. "Child, you must fight him. If you give up, the spirit will be born through you, and the world will never know peace again." Sarah's lips trembled, her voice weak but her own this time. "I can't. He's too strong. Mama, I'm scared." Ruth wept, stroking her daughter's hair. "You are stronger than you think, my child. Don't let him win. Don't give him your soul." The old woman stood tall, lifting her staff high. The ground trembled, the stones glowed, and fire danced at their edges. She began to chant words in an ancient tongue, her voice echoing like thunder. Daniel roared in rage, slamming his fists against the invisible barrier of the circle. His form flickered between man and shadow, his eyes burning with fury. "You cannot take her from me. She's mine. She chose me." The skeletal hand inside Sarah pushed harder, tearing flesh. Ruth screamed, trying to hold it back, but the old woman struck the ground with her staff. A blast of light shot into Sarah's belly, forcing the black hand to retreat with a screech. Sarah gasped, her eyes rolling back as the glow consumed her body. For a moment, it seemed the nightmare was ending. But then, the earth cracked wider. A dark mist poured out, swallowing the trees. Daniel's laughter returned, deeper, louder, shaking the sky. "Foolish woman! You cannot chain me. My child is already bound to this world. Even if you tear it from her womb, its curse will remain." The old woman faltered, her staff trembling. Sweat poured down her wrinkled face as she struggled to hold the barrier. Ruth realized with horror. The woman was powerful, yes, but even she was reaching her limit. Sarah suddenly arched her back, screaming as her belly swelled larger, stretching unnaturally. Her skin turned gray, veins darkening across her body. She clawed at her own stomach, begging, "Mama, take it out. Take it out before it kills me." Ruth's soul shattered at the sight. She wanted to cut her daughter open to free her, but fear chained her hands. The old woman cried out, "Ruth, if the child is born, it will destroy us all. But if you kill it before it comes, Sarah may die with it. The choice is yours." Ruth froze, torn apart by the impossible decision. Save her daughter by killing her unborn child and risk her life, or allow the birth and unleash a monster upon the world. Sarah's voice, broken and weak, whispered through her tears, "Mama, do it. Don't let me bring evil into this world. Please, save them, even if you can't save me." Ruth's hand hovered over a sharp stone on the ground, her fingers trembling violently. Tears blurred her vision as she raised it, ready to do the unthinkable. Daniel roared with fury, his voice shaking the heavens. "If you kill my child, Ruth, I swear I will kill you, your daughter, and every soul in this city." The old woman screamed, "Decide now. The womb cannot hold him much longer." Sarah arched her back again, shrieking in agony as her belly split wider, black mist pouring out. Her voice echoed through the forest, filled with pain and desperation. "Mama, please, before it's too late." Ruth lifted the stone higher, her hand shaking uncontrollably, her eyes filled with grief. The ground beneath them exploded, and a figure rose from the crack. It was not Daniel. It was something worse. The earth split wide open, spewing fire and black mist as the figure rose from the depths. It was taller than any man, its body made of bones stitched with shadows, its face a grotesque mixture of Daniel's and something far older, far darker. Its eyes burned like molten coal, and its mouth opened to release a scream that shook the forest to its roots. Ruth fell backward, dragging Sarah into her arms, her entire body shaking. The old woman gasped, her staff glowing faintly but flickering like a candle in the storm. Daniel roared from the edge of the circle, his face twisting in rage. "No, you cannot rise without me. You were mine to birth." The monstrous figure turned its burning eyes on Daniel. Its voice was deep, layered, a chorus of 1,000 tormented souls. "Foolish spirit. You planted your seed, but you were only the vessel. I am the true one. I am the curse that has slept beneath Riverbend for centuries. And through her womb, I have returned." Sarah writhed, screaming as her belly flattened, the thing inside her escaping into the figure that now stood tall in the clearing. She coughed blood, trembling, her voice weak. "Mama, it's gone, it's out of me." Ruth wept, clutching her daughter. "Hold on, my child. Please hold on." But the figure spread its arms wide, and the earth groaned. The spirits in the ground shrieked, chains rattling as though the pit of hell had cracked open. The old woman staggered forward, slamming her staff into the earth. "No, you will not take this world. I bind you in the name of the ancient oath." The stones of the circle glowed again, flames rising around the creature. It screamed, shaking violently, but it did not burn. It only grew stronger. The old woman fell to her knees, blood dripping from her nose. He is too strong." Daniel snarled, his form flickering, his control slipping. "You were mine, not his. You betrayed me." He lunged at the monstrous figure, but the creature grabbed him with one skeletal hand. Daniel screamed as his body was torn apart like paper. His shadowy form devoured in seconds. His cries echoed once, then silence. Sarah whimpered weakly, tears streaming down her pale face. "Mama, I don't want to die. Don't let it take me." Ruth held her tightly, her own tears blinding her. "You will not die, my child. I will protect you, even if it kills me." The monstrous figure turned its burning gaze toward them, smiling with jagged teeth. "The womb is mine forever. She bore me once. She will bear me again. Her blood belongs to me." Ruth's heart broke. She knew then, the creature would never leave Sarah alone. Even if this body was gone, the curse would live in her womb forever, breeding horrors until the end of time. The old woman crawled closer, her voice hoarse but determined. "Ruth, there is only one way. The bond must be broken by blood. A sacrifice." Ruth looked at her, her hands tightening around Sarah. "What do you mean?" The old woman's eyes glowed faintly. "The mother must give her life. Only then will the womb be freed. The curse cannot hold both mother and child at once. If you bleed, she will be saved." Ruth froze. Her heart pounded, her mind racing. To save her daughter, she had to die. But if she didn't, Sarah's life, and Riverbend's, would be lost. The creature laughed, its voice shaking the forest. "Do it, Ruth. Spill your blood. Let me drink it. Either way, I win." Ruth looked into her daughter's terrified eyes. Sarah whispered, broken and weak, "Mama, don't leave me. Please don't." Ruth kissed her forehead, her tears falling. "I will never leave you, my child. Even in death, I will fight for you." She picked up the sharp stone again, her hands trembling. The old woman nodded slowly, whispering, "Do it quickly before it is too late." The creature stepped closer, its shadow stretching across the circle. Sarah screamed, clutching her mother. "No, Mama. Don't do it. Please." Ruth raised the stone high above her chest, her voice breaking as she cried out to the heavens. "God, take me, but spare my child." The stone descended. And at that exact moment, the ground shook violently, the circle of stones exploding into shards of light. The monstrous figure screamed, thrashing, as chains of fire shot up from the earth, wrapping around its limbs. The old woman cried out, "The sacrifice has been accepted." Ruth gasped, blood pouring from her chest where the stone had pierced. She collapsed beside Sarah, her breath shallow, her lips trembling into a weak smile. "You are free now, my child. Live for me." Sarah screamed, clutching her mother as the creature was dragged into the crack, its screams echoing through the forest until the ground sealed shut. Silence fell. The old woman staggered forward, her staff dimming. She placed a hand on Sarah's shoulder. "It is done. The curse is broken. But remember this, child. The womb that bore a ghost will never be the same. You are free, but you will never forget." Sarah wept over her mother's lifeless body. Her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She was alive, but she was broken. And as the dawn rose over Riverbend City, she knew one truth would haunt her forever. She had been pregnant for a ghost. And though the curse was gone, the terrifying truth inside her womb would never be forgotten.